You are 10 years old. You are sitting in your bedroom, but you are listening to the kitchen. The voices downstairs are getting louder, and you feel that familiar pull in the center of your chest, the impulse to go out there, to mediate, to fix it. The adults in your life called this maturity. But you knew even then, it didn't feel like wisdom. It felt like a job you never applied for. You remember the teachers telling your parents how easy you were, how you were such an old soul. They smiled when they said it, but they didn't see what happened when the door closed. They didn't see that being easy was just the strategy you used to keep the house from exploding. You weren't calm because you were peaceful. You were calm because panic was a luxury you couldn't afford. You walk into a room today and you don't just enter, you scan. You check the temperature. You look at your partner's eyes, your boss's posture, the set of a friend's jaw. You are calculating the blast radius before you even take off your coat. And the moment you detect a shift, your own needs evaporate. You become a vessel for their stability. You soothe, you distract, you make yourself small or large, whatever the room requires to stay level. Your body learns to hold its breath until everyone else is breathing easily. But late at night, the real fear sets in. You wonder, if I wasn't useful to them, would they still love me? You suspect your value is entirely tied to your function, that if you stopped fixing things, you would cease to matter. And it's not that the people you loved were villains. Sometimes you saw the guilt in their eyes. They knew they were leaning on a child. They loved you, but their need was louder than their love. They were drowning. And you were the only raft in the water. And here is the hard truth. You got good at it. Every time you stepped in to manage their emotions, you taught them that they didn't need to grow up, because you had already done it for them. So you stay stuck. You hate the role, but you are terrified of the chaos that comes if you quit. You have spent your life thinking this is just your personality, that you are just anxious or controlling or too sensitive. You aren't wired this way by accident. You were forged this way by necessity. When a home is on fire, someone has to grab the hose. When the adults are acting like children, the child has to become the adult. Your hypervigilance wasn't a flaw. It was a post you were assigned. You weren't born mature. You were drafted. You are the childhood first responder. This isn't a diagnosis. It is a name you earned in the quiet of your own living room. You survived an emotional emergency that lasted for 18 years. That constant readiness you feel now isn't a disorder, it's your training. It's the muscle memory of someone who had to keep the peace to survive. You learned to read micro-expressions because missing them meant danger. You learned to de-escalate because no one else would. You learned to anticipate needs before they were spoken, because that was the only way to keep the boat steady. You are not broken. You are someone who weathered a storm no one else could see. And the exhaustion you feel is just the cost of being on call for 2 decades without a single day off. So what does this look like when you stop fighting it? It looks like sitting with a friend who is falling apart. The old you would have jumped in to fix it, to carry their pain so they wouldn't have to. But the first responder knows the difference between an emergency and a process. You sit there. You listen. You feel the familiar surge, the urge to take the wheel. And you gently put your hands back in your lap. You realize that your ability to read the room is a tool, not a mandate. You can see the pain without absorbing it. You offer a towel, not a rescue, but you do not clock in. You let them carry their own weight because you finally respect them enough to know they can, and you respect yourself enough to know you don't have to. You have carried the weight of the world since you were big enough to stand. But the emergency is over. The house is not on fire anymore. You are allowed to take off the uniform. You are the childhood first responder, and you have earned your rest. If this name belongs to you, claim it in the comments. Drop a comment. What changes when you realize you were drafted, not born this way?